What are the two mistakes you might be making while talking to debt collectors on the phone? My name is Michael Wasylik. I'm one of the lawyers at Ricardo and Wasylik here in Florida, and together with my partner, Jason Ricardo, I help people just like you overcome foreclosure and debt collection with dignity. And today I'm going to tell you the two mistakes you might be making while talking to a debt collector on the phone. I'm also going to tell you what you should do instead and how to avoid making these critical mistakes. Mistake number one is leaking information. When a debt collector calls you, they have one goal in mind, and that is to squeeze money out of you, often by manipulating your emotions, making you feel anger or shame or guilt or some kind of moral imperative to cough up money. And they're going to exploit everything they can use against you in order to get money out of you. And in order to exploit you, they're going to also try to gather information. They're going to try and find out who your family is so that you have that fear that maybe your information will be leaked. They're going to make you feel guilty because if they think you're a good person, they're going to use that against you. They're going to try and make you feel angry if they can figure out what your hot buttons are. So when you leak information, when you give them any information at all, they're going to be able to use that against you. Think of the warning you've seen in criminal TV shows. Anything you say can be used against you. In a phone call with a debt collector, anything you say will be used against you. They will use that against you to try to extract money out of you. So here's what a typical phone call might look like. You might pick up the phone and they'll say, "Hi, is John Smith there?" Or "Is this John Smith?" And then immediately you make that first mistake and you say, "Yeah, this is John Smith." You've done two things. Number one, you've told them they have the right phone number for you, so they now know how to get a hold of you. Number two, they know you'll pick up the phone if they can convince you that it's a phone number that you want to be receiving information from. And oftentimes, for example, they might mask phone numbers as being from your area code or even from the exchange in your neighborhood, from your same town or city, so that you might think it's a friend calling from a local area, and so you might pick it up. They know you're going to answer that phone, so you've leaked that information. They know who you are and they know what phone number it is. You've already leaked very critical information. Also, if you say the word yes in your voice and they're recording it, some unscrupulous debt collectors, now this is illegal, but if they hear you say the word yes on an audio recording on a phone call, they might try to manufacture some kind of consent to something else. They might splice that into a different recording. Again, it's highly illegal, it's fraudulent, but if you're a debt collector that doesn't have any scruples, doesn't care about following the law, that's something you might do. So just by saying the word yes, you've leaked information and given them something to use against you. So here's what we recommend doing instead. When somebody calls, if you make the mistake of answering a phone call that you don't recognize, when they say, "Is John Smith here?" you might want to say, "Well, who's calling?" Right? Get them to give you information. Ask questions, never give information, never confirm anything. Instead of answering the question, you might answer with another question. You might say, "Well, what's this call about?" And then they'll say, "Oh, well, we've got an important business call or personal message for John Smith." Now, if they tell you we're here to collect a debt and they haven't confirmed that John Smith is on the line, that's a real problem. Because one of the things they have to do when they're calling you is they have to confirm they're talking to the right person. If they leak information to the wrong person, that's a violation of federal law. That's something you can sue them for. So they can't confirm anything. And if they accidentally leak something, you could sue them for leaking information without confirming that they're talking to the correct party. They'll say, "Oh, this is June Jones. I'm calling for John Smith. Is John Smith there?" So as the phone call continues, they will try to ask you more questions. They will try to get you to leak information to them. You can continue to ask questions, find out what their name is, who their employer is, why they're calling, and so on and so forth. Do not make statements. Ask questions instead. Ask them who they are, who their employer is, why they're calling, and get that information out of them. And the more information they give you, the more at risk they are of violating the law. But more importantly, every time you ask a question, you are not confirming what they are looking to confirm. You are not giving them information for them to use against you. And actually, even if they suspect, because sometimes they'll run across people who do this, and they're like, "Oh, well, somebody who's asking me these questions is inherently suspicious of me, and so this must be the right person." In their minds, they think, "Oh, we must have the right person." But what they learn about you is that you're not going to be an easy mark. You're not going to be that low-hanging fruit that they want to call again and waste a lot of time on the phone with. Because that's the other thing. If they spend a lot of time with you, they're wasting time unless they're getting money out of you. So by asking questions and not leaking information, you are preventing them from getting what they need, and you are getting ammunition to use against them possibly. So that's the way you should handle a phone call if you answer a phone call and realize it's a debt collector. Now here's mistake number two that most people make: talking to debt collectors at all on the phone, because there is almost nothing that will benefit you when you talk to a debt collector on the phone. There's nothing that they can offer you that is going to be to your benefit. They have a limited ability to negotiate any kind of settlement, and it's never going to be as good as you'll be able to get in other ways. The people calling you from the call centers don't have power, don't have authority. They don't have any ability to deviate from their limits, the strict limits imposed on them by their supervisors on what they can offer you. So you're not going to be able to get anything out of them that's worthwhile unless you get them to leak information or unless you get them to violate the law while they're talking to you. And more importantly, there's nothing you can say to them that benefits you in any way. In fact, everything you say to them can hurt you if it leaks information, as we talked about earlier. So talking to them on the phone doesn't help you, can hurt you, and so there's really, in most cases, no reason to do it. And here's the thing that we recommend you do instead. If you don't recognize the phone number that's calling you, don't answer it. Let them leave a voicemail. Because if they are, let's say it's a friend calling you from a phone number you don't recognize, if it's somebody you know, they will either leave you a voicemail or maybe they'll text you and say, hey, hey, it's Bob, call me back, whatever. And then you know who it is. But if it's an important, legitimate call, they'll leave a voicemail, they'll tell you what it's about, and they'll tell you what's going on. If it's a debt collector and they leave you a voicemail, again, they might say something on that voicemail that you now have recorded that is going to be to your advantage. Here's the other reason phone calls with debt collectors don't help you: because no promise they make you on the phone, no matter how many times they tell you it's recorded, no matter how many times they tell you it's true, whatever, nothing they tell you on the phone is really trustworthy or reliable. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody say, oh, well, on the phone they told me this. Number one, just because you remember them telling you something on the phone doesn't mean you'll be able to enforce it later. Number two, nothing they tell you on the phone is something you're really going to be able to enforce in court, even if you have it recorded, even if you have it memorialized in some way. The reality is that if somebody lies to you on the phone, or somebody tells you something that ends up not being true, somebody makes you a promise that's not going to be true, there's really no way for you to go into court and say, oh yeah, but they made me this promise. I mean, you can, but the reality is that it's not going to be the strongest case. If you really want to reach a deal with a debt collector, and if a debt collector wants to reach a deal with you, they're going to be willing to put it in writing. And here's how you know this is true. Two things. Number one, when a debt collector calls, you tell them, hey, listen, I'm recording this phone call. Is that okay with you? Watch how fast they hang up. Number two, tell them what you're proposing sounds interesting. Go ahead and send me that in writing and I'll think about it. None of that's going to happen. What they will do is they'll try to manipulate your emotions, ramp up your urgency. They'll say something like, well, I can't send you this in writing because that offer expires today. Well, that's garbage, right? That's a warning sign that they're manipulating your emotions. So don't fall for that. The two mistakes most people make: number one is leaking information. So instead of leaking information, ask questions, do not make statements, do not confirm anything, do not tell them who you are, let them wonder, be a person of mystery. Don't tell them who you are, don't tell them anything about you, don't make any statements at all, don't confirm any information, ask questions designed to give you information that you can use against them. Number two, don't talk to them at all if you can help it. Do not pick up the phone if you don't recognize the phone number. It's likely somebody you don't want to talk to. It may be a scam. It may be a salesperson. It may be a debt collector. Almost never are unknown phone number is going to be somebody you want to spend your time talking to. So just don't do it. Let them leave a voicemail or send you a text. If it's somebody you want to talk to, they'll figure out a way to get a hold of you. So have you gotten phone calls from debt collectors and you have a question about something they said to you? You're wondering if maybe it's illegal and you get to sue them? Drop a comment down below. Tell us what happened, and we're going to do our best to answer every single comment, either with a new video or in the comment section itself. And number two, if the things I've told you on this video have been helpful, please like the video so that other people are more likely to see it. And if you know somebody who might need to hear from this, maybe your grandmother answers all these phone calls that she gets on her cell phone, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Help your friends protect themselves, help your family protect themselves by getting this information. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.